My brother told my girlfriend I was cheating so he could date her, so I told her the truth. She chose me, and he lost everything. I'm a 27-year-old guy, and my older brother has always been the golden child. Josh was the kind of kid who could punch a hole in the wall and still get a pat on the back for expressing himself. Me. I once forgot to take the chicken out of the freezer and got grounded for a week. He was charming, athletic, loud in all the ways my parents admired. I was quieter, more introverted, straight A's, part-time job, never missed a chore, but none of that ever mattered. Next to Josh, I was invisible. Every family dinner felt like a performance where I didn't get a script. Josh would brag about the parties he snuck into, the girls he conquered, and my parents would laugh like he was some teenage legend. I remember one night he admitted to crashing my dad's car after drinking and blamed it on a parking lot scratch. My dad actually said, "Well, at least you're honest." That was Josh's power. He could set the house on fire and somehow convince everyone it was for warmth. One summer, I caught him stealing $200 from Mom's purse. I told her. She looked me dead in the eye and said, "Don't make up stories just because you're jealous." That moment stuck with me more than I care to admit. Not because Josh got away with it, he always did, but because I realized something even worse. They wanted to believe in him more than they wanted to believe in me. Growing up like that doesn't just hurt, it warps you. I stopped trying to win their attention and focused on building a life outside of them. I thought if I worked hard enough, built something solid, maybe the imbalance would fix itself. But Josh wasn't done with me, not even close. I met Mia at a friend's housewarming party during my second year out of college. She wasn't flashy or loud, just the kind of person who made you feel calm by being around her. While Josh always dated girls who lived for drama and validation, Mia was real, thoughtful. Her laugh wasn't forced. And when she asked me about my job in graphic design, she actually listened. We spent the entire evening on the balcony, talking about everything from childhood cartoons to books that made us cry. I walked her to her car, palms sweaty and heart racing like I was 16 again. She looked at me and said, "I'm glad I came tonight." That was the start of something I never thought I'd have, a relationship that wasn't built on competition or performance, just mutual care. In the months that followed, we got serious fast. Movie nights turned into weekends away. By month 6, she had a drawer in my apartment. I even brought her to Sunday dinner with my family. And for once, I was excited to introduce someone I felt proud of to the chaos I grew up in. Josh greeted her like he was the host of the night. "Damn, little bro," he smirked, giving me that makpunchan hanshan ho shoulder move he always did. "Didn't know you had it in you." Mia laughed politely, but I caught the way he held her gaze just a little too long. The way he asked her what she did for a living and then followed up with 5 more questions while I sat there like a background prop. I brushed it off at the time. Josh was always like that, with people flirtatious, magnetic, but I figured Mia saw through it. I trusted her, and for a while, I really thought that trust meant something. At first, it was little things small enough that I convinced myself I was being paranoid. Like the time Josh sent Mia a meme at midnight, and she laughed and showed it to me like it was no big deal. Or when she casually mentioned that Josh had asked her for book recommendations, even though I knew he hadn't touched a novel since high school. It was all harmless on the surface. But I started noticing the frequency texts that came late at night, inside jokes I wasn't part of. Glances between them that lingered just a second too long. I walked into the living room and found them sitting close on the couch, laughing about some old movie scene. I froze in the doorway. It wasn't what they were doing, it was how Josh looked at her. Like she was a prize he wanted. And Mia, she looked comfortable. Too comfortable. After Josh left, I asked, trying to sound casual, "You and Josh getting along well, huh?" She nodded. "Yeah, he's funny. A little over the top, but he means well." I smiled, but my stomach tightened. "He texted you kind of late last night," I added. She waved it off. It was just a meme. "You're not jealous, are you?" I forced a laugh. "No, of course not. But I was. Not because I didn't trust me, I did, but because I knew Josh. I knew how icily he could charm his way into anything. How he treated people like toys to be passed around when he got bored. And for the first time in a long while, I had someone he might actually want. I started checking my phone more often. Watching the way she smiled when she read his texts, I told myself it was nothing. But my gut said otherwise, and I've learned the hard way. Your gut doesn't lie. It happened on a Friday night. I came home from work expecting to see Mia curled up on the couch with her laptop, like always. Instead, she was standing by the window, arms crossed, her face pale and tight. The air in the room felt heavy before she even spoke. "We need to talk," she said quietly. My heart dropped. She turned her phone toward me, showing a picture grainy taken from across the street. It looked like me, leaning close to a woman outside a cafe. My arm was on her chair. The caption underneath read, "Guess he's not so loyal after all." It was from an unknown number. "I didn't want to believe it," Mia said, her voice trembling. "But Josh told me this has been going on for weeks. He said he caught you lying about working late." For a second, my brain refused to process the words. Josh, my brother. He had sent her this. "Mia, that's not me," I said, reaching for her phone. "That's not even," she pulled back. He showed me messages too. Screenshots. "You told some girl you'd meet up soon?" I felt my chest tighten. My mind raced through every text, every call. I hadn't done anything like that. "He's lying," I said firmly. "You know, Josh, he loves stirring things up." But she shook her head, eyes glassy. "He swore he just wanted me to know before I got hurt." That line broke Mitha, same brother who'd humiliated me my whole life, was now pretending to protect her from me. I tried explaining, but she wasn't hearing it. She grabbed her keys, whispering, "I just need space." The door closed behind her. And just like that, Josh's lie became my reality. Everything I loved walked out the door, because he wanted it to. The silence in our apartment that night was suffocating. I sat on the couch for hours, staring at the door like she might come back if I waited long enough. But she didn't. I scrolled through every text I'd ever sent, looking for anything that could have been twisted. There was nothing. I wasn't guilty of anything except trusting the wrong people. By morning, the damage had already spread. Mia hadn't just walked out, she had gone quiet. No texts, no calls. Mutual friends who used to light up my phone suddenly stopped replying. One even texted, "Not cool, man. She deserves better." That was the moment I knew Josh hadn't just told her a lie. He had sold it like gospel. I drove to my parents' house that evening, desperate for someone to believe me. My mom opened the door with a forced smile, like she already knew. "She's a sweet girl," she said gently. "And if what she's saying is true, it's not," I cut in. Josh walked in behind her, pretending to be surprised. "Whoa, dude! I didn't think you'd show up. You really sent her those photos?" He held up his hands. "Hey, I just didn't want her to get played. She asked me if you were acting weird lately." I told her what I saw. That's it. He made it sound like he'd stumbled upon some painful truth and nobly passed it along. I wanted to scream, to break something, but I didn't, because I knew what this was. Josh had always had a talent for turning the truth into whatever served him best. And just like every time before, my parents stood there in silence, not defending me, not questioning him, just watching. I left without another word, and for the first time in my life, I wasn't just angry. I was heartbroken, because this time, he took something that mattered. 3 days passed. 3 days of silence from Mia, whispers from friends, and that sick feeling in my chest that something precious had been ripped away and no one cared to notice. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. Every time my phone buzzed, I hoped it was her. And when it wasn't, I'd stare at the wall, wondering how many more people were out there now thinking I was the villain. Then, out of nowhere, Mia called. Her voice was quiet. Just that one word, but I felt my whole body tense. "I'm glad you called," I said, trying to stay calm. "I've been thinking," she continued. "Something doesn't feel right. Josh's story. It keeps changing." My heart thudded. "What do you mean?" "He told me you'd been sneaking around with a coworker," she said. "But then yesterday, he said it was someone from your gym. And when I asked to see the messages again, he said he deleted them." There it was. The first real crack in the perfect lie he'd built. I didn't want to push. I could tell she was torn, her voice wavering between doubt and hurt. But I asked if she'd meet me. "Just once, let me explain everything. No pressure. Just the truth. That's all I'm asking." She paused. "Okay. Tomorrow night, neutral place, coffee shop on 4th. When the call ended, I sat there staring at my phone. A flicker of hope burned low in my chest. but I didn't let it grow. Not yet. Josh was good at deception, but he wasn't careful. He thought charm would do the work forever. He didn't expect her to think for herself, and if she gave me even 5 minutes, I'd make sure he never saw this coming the next night. I got to the coffee shop early and sat facing the door, nerves buzzing like static in my fingertips. Every time it opened, I half expected her to change her mind. But she came. No makeup, hair in a loose ponytail, hands stuffed in the pockets of an oversized hoodie. She looked tired, not angry, just worn out. She sat across from me, and for a few seconds, neither of us said a word. Finally, I started, "Mia, I never cheated on you. Not once, and I think you already know that." She looked down, then nodded slowly. "I wanted to believe you. I really did. But Joshy was so convincing. I didn't think your own brother would lie like that." I leaned forward. "He's been doing this kind of thing since we were kids. Lying, twisting things, stealing, and making it look like I was the one to blame. You know that photo he sent? I found the original lits from a review of that cafe online. The guy isn't even wearing the same jacket as me." Her eyes widened. I kept going. "I showed my location history. Texts, emails, whatever you want. I have nothing to hide, but Josh. He's always had something to gain from making me look bad." I told her about the way he looked at her, the overstepping, the manipulation. I laid it all out, no exaggeration, just truth. She didn't interrupt. She just listened, slowly connecting the dots, her face going from confusion to something darker. "He said he was trying to protect me," she whispered. "That he saw how distracted you were lately, and he didn't want me to waste time on someone who wasn't serious." My jaw clenched. "No, he didn't want to protect you. He wanted you." She stared at me for a long time, and then said, "I think I need to show you something too." And what she pulled out next, it changed everything. Mia reached into her bag and pulled out her phone. Her hands trembled just slightly as she tapped through her gallery, then slid it across the table. Toward me, messages. Screenshots. From Josh, I scrolled in stunned silence. "He's not right for you. You deserve someone who gets you. If you ever want to be with a man who actually pays attention, you've got no idea how long I've been waiting for him to mess up." There were dozens of them, some subtle, others downright aggressive. Compliments disguised as concern, warnings disguised as brotherly advice, and then there it was, one message from 2 days ago. "Now that the truth is out, maybe we can finally talk about US?" I felt sick. "You kept these?" Mia nodded. At first, I thought he was just being protective. Then it started to feel off, like he was trying to plant ideas in my head. "I blocked him last night." My chest tightened with relief, but also shame, because for a second, I had doubted her too. "I'm sorry," I said quietly. She shook her head. "No, I'm the one who should apologize. I let him get in my head. I should have known better. You've always been honest with me." We sat there in silence, the air between us finally clearing. "I believe you," she said, voice soft but steady. "I believe all of it." I nodded, swallowing the emotion clawing up my throat. "Then I need you to help me do something. Not for revenge, but for the truth. I want my family to see what he really is." She didn't even hesitate. "Tell me when." I looked her in the eye, and for the first time in days, I felt grounded, because now I wasn't just fighting back. I wasn't alone anymore. 2 days later, we showed up at my parents' house unannounced. I could feel my pulse in my throat as I rang the bell. Mia stood beside me, calm but unreadable. She'd printed the message's physical proof, because I knew Josh would deny everything if we showed a phone. My mom opened the door, surprised but smiling. "Oh, you two made up?" she asked, already glancing behind us for Josh like she expected him to be part of the celebration. "Where's Josh?" I asked. "In the living room." She said, "Why?" I didn't answer. I walked straight in, and there he was sprawled on the couch like a king holding court, laughing at something on his phone. When he saw Mia, he straightened up like he'd been caught with his hand in a cookie jar. "Well, look who came crawling back," he smirked. "Guess the truth finally sunk in, huh?" "Yeah," Mia said, stepping forward. It did. She handed the stack of papers to my parents. My dad took them, confused, flipping through slowly. The silence was thick, just the soft sound of paper turning. Then the hard shift in my mother's breathing when she read the line, "You deserve someone who actually sees you." Josh stood up fast. "What the hell is this?" Mia turned to him, her voice calm. "This is every message you sent me, Josh. Every lie. Every attempt to manipulate me into thinking your brother was cheating," he stammered. "That's out of context. I was just trying to protect you by lying. By faking screenshots and sending fake photos." I cut in. My mom looked at him like she was seeing him clearly for the first time. "Josh," she whispered, "is this true?" He opened his mouth but for once in his life. Josh had nothing left to say, and in that silence, his mask finally cracked. Josh's silence stretched longer than I thought he was capable of. He looked around the room like he was trying to find an escape route, somebody, anybody, to back him up. But no one moved, not even my parents, especially not my mom, who stood frozen with the printouts in her trembling hands. "Mom," he finally said, voice tight, "come on. You know me." "I would never," but she cut him off. "That's the problem, Josh. I don't know you. Not really." That hit harder than I expected. Even I had to sit with that one for a second. I thought she deserved better," he muttered, eyes flicking to Mia, who stood her ground. "You were always so boring, so perfect around her." I thought if she saw how fake that was. Fake. I snapped. "You fabricated screenshots. You stalked us. You lied. You didn't just try to ruin my relationship. You made me out to be a monster." Dad spoke for the first time. "You're not the man I thought you were, son." Josh tried to laugh it off, but the room didn't move. No one flinched. His charm had finally failed him, and then, like dominoes, the rest started to fall. My cousin messaged me the next day saying Josh borrowed money from him months ago and A mutual friend confessed Josh had been bad-mouthing me for years, subtle digs that no one questioned because, well, he was Josh. And within the week, the company he worked for let him go after someone forwarded those screenshots to HR. He lost everything: his image, his job, and whatever hollow influence he had over our family. And the saddest part, even after all that, he still couldn't say sorry. Not once. But I didn't need an apology anymore. I had the truth, and everyone finally saw it. In the weeks that followed, everything felt quieter. Not peaceful exactly, but still. Like the dust had finally settled after a storm I didn't start, but had to survive. My parents didn't call much at first. I think they were ashamed, not just of Josh, but of how easily they believed him. Or maybe how often they'd chosen him over me, even when they knew better. Mia moved back in the following weekend. She brought her plants, her books, her quiet humming when she made coffee in the mornings. But something had changed. We didn't jump back into normal like flipping a switch. We had long talks, raw and vulnerably, about trust. About what we'd lost. About how easily lies can wear the skin of truth if you hear them often enough. "You should have never had to prove your innocence," she told me one night as we lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. "I should have trusted you first. I didn't say anything right away," because she was right. But forgiveness, like healing, takes time. And in that moment, it was enough that she was here, choosing me, not because Josh failed, but because I had finally been seen without the shadow of my brother distorting the view. I got a new job, offered freelance work that turned into a full-time design role. I started going to the gym again. Little things, but they felt like reclaiming pieces of myself. My parents came over for dinner eventually. No Josh, just them, sitting across the table with quiet eyes and slow conversation. My dad helped wash dishes. My mom brought a pie. It wasn't a full apology, but it was something. That night, as Mia and I stood by the door after they left, she looked up at me and said, "Do you think they really see you now?" I thought for a moment. For the first time in my life, I said, "I think they might." I heard through a cousin that Josh moved out of state not long after everything fell apart. No goodbye, no explanation, just gone. He'd lost his job, most of his friends, and from what I gathered, he was crashing on someone's couch in a city he used to mock as beneath him. The family that once adored him had gone quiet. Even my mother, who once bent over backwards to defend him, only mentioned his name with a sigh now. But I didn't feel triumphant. Not really. I didn't want Josh's life to burn down. I just wanted mine to stop getting scorched every time he felt entitled to something that wasn't his. He tried to take the one thing in my life that wasn't tainted by our family dynamic. The one person who saw me not as a backup, not as the other brother, but just me. And in the end, that backfired so perfectly It almost felt poetic. Mia and I eventually took that trip we'd been saving for, spend a week in the mountains. No phones, no drama. Just us. And one morning, as we stood on a cliffside trail, with the wind in our faces, she took my hand and said, "I'm sorry it had to come to all that, but I'm glad we're still here." So was I. I don't tell this story out of spite. I tell it because sometimes the people closest to us, the ones who share our blood, our childhood, our home, can be the very ones who work the hardest to destroy us. Not because they hate us, but because they can't stand that we might become something they're not. My brother told the woman. I loved that I was a liar, but in the end, the only truth that mattered was the one she came back to.